two former Maryland residents are among those now sharing their stories of living through a deadly blizzard in Buffalo, New York. A father tells his story of surviving the storm with his two children and dog after being trapped for hours inside their car. And a former state representative shares about how his community came together during the blizzard. Bill Braunrot, a former Maryland state delegate from Montgomery County, said the weather reports heading into the Christmas weekend at his adopted home in Buffalo, New York, didn't rattle him at first. That was until he heard his Buffalo neighbors worrying about blizzard forecasts. When Buffalonians start to say, "We've never seen anything like this," then you know you might be in trouble, Braunrot told WTOP. That storm ripped through western New York Friday and Saturday, killing 28 people in one of the worst weather-related disasters ever to hit the area. Up to 9 more inches of snow could fall in some areas of western New York through Tuesday, the National Weather Service said. Braunrot, who also worked as a transportation official for the Obama administration, spoke to WTOP about how he and his neighbors dealt with the storm. Braunrot said he thought that he prepared for the winter this year, especially after purchasing a snowblower. However, it was stored inside a shed in his backyard, which I can't get to because of the snow drifts that topped 4 feet by Monday. So he was stuck using just a shovel. Immediately following the storm, Braunrot said a number of neighbors on his street were without power. He ended up taking in 3 people. Everyone was affected in one way or another, he said. We made the best of it, and it turned out to be kind of a nice time connecting with neighbors. There was one resident of his Buffalo home making the most of the storm and its aftermath, his 6-month-old Spin 1 Italiano puppy, Lucia. Fortunately, she's grown a lot, so you know she's able to move through the snow pretty well, he said. By midday Monday, snow removal crews had made it to Braunrot Street to begin the long, labor-intensive job of digging out. The National Weather Service said the snow total at the Buffalo-Niagara International Airport stood at 49.2 inches, 1.25 meters, at 10 a.m. Monday. They're clearing a path that is resulting in 6, maybe 8-foot walls of snow, he said. Through it all, the former Maryland delegate said the storm did emphasize something the city is known for: neighborliness and coming together in hard times. Buffalo is known as the city of good neighbors, and when we go through trying times like this, I've learned that they really do come through, he said. Imagine being stuck in your car for 14 hours with your children and dog, in the Buffalo blizzard. It's the survival story of a man from Gaithersburg, Maryland. Jack Ilunga said he and his 2 daughters, ages 6 and 16, along with their dog, were trapped in their car as the storm raged around them. It was shaking, the car, he told WTOP. As the car was running out of gas, Ilunga called his pastor and prayed, he said, before deciding to walk with his children and their dog through the storm. He put his 6-year-old daughter on his back for the 5-minute walk to shelter. Ilunga recalls thinking, I don't know if we're going to make it, but we did. We pushed and pushed. Once they were inside, he said he was overcome with emotion. The first thing when I made to the shelter, I cried because I knew I could have died there with my kids, Ilunga said. The family made it by sleeping 2 nights in the shelter on top of trash bags that had been stuffed with clothes. They finally dug out their car and made it to Toronto to see family for Christmas. 7 more people in the city have died in the blizzard that hit western New York over the Christmas holiday, bringing the city's toll to 27, Mayor Byron Brown said this morning. He also said that toll is expected to rise as cleanup and rescue efforts continue. That is very sobering, he said on WBN 9:30 a.m. this morning. As of Monday, officials had confirmed 28 people had died in the storm. That included 27 in Erie County and 1 person in Niagara County. Today, Brown said some of the people who died in the city were found in snow banks, others in cars. Some were in their homes, he said. He also said that officials believe they have rescued all stranded drivers who needed help. The city now is trucking snow out of the city to clear more streets, he said. Some of the vehicles that were abandoned are being towed, he said. More than 100 National Guard members are in the Buffalo area helping in the cleanup efforts, Brown said. This was an act of nature, Brown said. Even with more personnel and equipment, this would be a very difficult storm to handle. Many stores, including all Wegmans and Tops locations in 2 counties, were closed Friday through Monday as the region got hammered by as much as 4 feet of snow. The New York Thruway remains closed from exit 46, Henrietta, to the Pennsylvania line. Another 2 to 3 inches is expected in the Buffalo area today, according to the National Weather Service. Temperatures are expected to warm above freezing by Wednesday. For days after snow started falling, the Buffalo area remained crippled on Monday by a devastating blizzard that left at least 28 dead and that officials said was the worst winter storm in more than 50 years. With the storm nearing its end, Buffalo residents started to venture out, particularly as their supplies of food ran low. But with many roads in western New York impassable, thousands still without power and more snow expected to continue falling through the end of the night on Monday. Officials said that conditions remained dangerous and that they expected the death toll could rise. This has been a very difficult and dangerous storm, Buffalo's mayor, Byron Brown, said at a news conference on Monday. It's been described as a once-in-a-generation storm. And everything that has been forecast, we have gotten in the city of Buffalo, and then some. A driving ban remained in place in Buffalo, a city of around 270,000 people, and in some of its immediate suburbs as the authorities pleaded with residents to remain home. Mr. Brown said that many of the city's streets had yet to be plowed, with the early focus on clearing paths for ambulances, police officers, rescue vehicles, and medical workers. Complicating efforts, Governor Kathy Hochul said, were scores and scores of vehicles that had been abandoned in ditches and snowbanks during the storm and had yet to be removed. In some cases, she said, snowplows and rescue vehicles had been trapped. On Monday night, President Biden approved an emergency disaster declaration for the state. Mark C. Polenkars, the Erie County executive, said that 27 deaths were linked to the storm in his county. 14 of those dead were found outside, and 3 were in a vehicle, he said. 4 others died because they did not have heat, and 3 died in cardiac-related events while removing snow from outside homes and businesses. In Niagara County, the sheriff's office said a 27-year-old man in Lockport died of carbon monoxide poisoning after heavy snow blocked an external furnace, causing carbon monoxide to enter the house. Western New York, where residents take pride in their resilience in the face of brutal winter weather, appeared to have suffered the worst of a fierce storm that brought bitter cold to much of the United States. At one point on Friday, roughly 2/3 of the U.S. population was under winter warnings or advisories. Other regions appeared to be recovering after strong winds took down power lines in the central, eastern, and northern United States. In Maine, one of the states hit hardest by power outages, more than 17,000 homes and businesses remained without power on Monday afternoon, according to state utility companies' maps. But the storm has lingered in the Buffalo area. We can see, sort of, the light at the end of the tunnel, Mr. Polenkar said. But this is not the end yet, we are not there. Police officers and rescue workers roamed the streets of Buffalo on snowmobiles and trucks, while members of the National Guard, wearing military gear, patrolled in jeeps. Even as residents took steps to dig themselves out, many restaurants and supermarkets remained closed, sending people to social media to try and find needed supplies. Dave Lewis, 52, of Buffalo, walked for 45 minutes while navigating snow drifts before he found an open corner store, Buff City Market. Mr. Lewis said he purchased tuna fish, jerky and pop. I had to get food, Mr. Lewis said. I'll take what I can get. The shop's owner, Ali Omer, said a metal barrier he had placed over the window of the store froze shut on Friday. He managed to pry it open on Sunday, and residents have been pouring in ever since to buy whatever supplies they could. Latasha Leeper, 38, paid a man $100 to remove a 4-foot snow drift behind her car that had forced her to miss her Sunday shift at a nearby group home. Ms. Leeper, who cares for teenagers with autism, said 3 of her colleagues who were scheduled to work only on Friday ended up working through the weekend because others like her remained unable to drive. Brandon Andrews, 23, said his 80-year-old step-grandmother was trapped without power for several days until neighbors helped clear a pathway through the snow to her apartment building. Mr. Andrews, a student at the University at Buffalo, said she kept warm with a blanket and space heater powered by a battery or generator. She couldn't feel her feet, he said on Monday, as he helped her navigate through the snow and ice to a relative's house down the street. The snow is expected to end by Tuesday morning and to be mostly concentrated north of the city before moving south overnight, said John Hitchcock, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Buffalo.
2022.
With very little wind in the forecast, he added, the Buffalo region should not expect the same level of blizzard-like conditions it experienced over the weekend. The Weather Service said on Monday that more than 49 inches of snow was recorded over 3 days at Buffalo-Niagara International Airport, the highest total in Erie County. Jefferson County received between 22 and 41 inches of snow, Niagara County recorded up to 24 inches of snow, and Lewis County saw up to 30 inches of snow over the same time period, according to the Weather Service. More than 11,000 customers remained without power in Erie County as of Monday evening. Mr. Polenkars said electricity might not get restored until Tuesday. Officials said the airfield at the Buffalo airport would remain closed until Wednesday morning. State officials said 4 electric substations had been knocked offline, but 2 had been fully repaired, and Mayor Brown said Buffalo was working with National Grid, the utility that serves the region, to bring the other 2 back to full operation. Dave Bertola, a spokesman for National Grid, said that efforts to restore power had been slowed by unplowed roads and difficulties reaching downed and damaged power lines. The biggest challenge we've had is that with so much drifting snow, the visibility has been poor and streets were not plowed, he said. We're doing the best we can to get out there. Bo Duffy, a spokesman for the New York State Police, said that more than 100 members of the state police were using snowmobiles and other special vehicles to help clear roads, reach stranded cars, and move vehicles from roadways to make room for snowplows.
Insane.
Mr. Polenkars and Ms. Hochul, who grew up in the Buffalo suburbs, said this week's storm was the worst in their memory. Both, at times, evoked comparisons to the city's blizzard of 1977, which left 28 people in the state dead. No one thought we'd see a blizzard worse than the one in '77 here, said Ms. Hochul, who was 18 at the time of that monumental storm. And we did this week. Though Buffalo is accustomed to significant snowfall, this has been in some ways a record-setting year. Last month, a winter storm dropped a record amount of snow for the region in a 24-hour period, 21.5 inches, eclipsing a previous record of 7.6 inches. Ms. Hochul, at the time, said the state needed to take precautions to prepare for such storms, as climate change has appeared to make extreme weather more common. On Monday, she acknowledged that historic storms are no longer historic to us. After November's storm, she said, she had directed state agencies to prepare for another major winter weather event. Still, she and Mr. Polenkars suggested that even as they had prepared for the worst-case scenario, the ferocity of the storm hindered their response. When Mother Nature literally shuts down and creates a wall that you cannot see past, it is not safe for, not only emergency vehicles, but for the trucks that are bringing groceries to the stores. And the stores are shut down, anyhow, Ms. Hochul, a Democrat, said. So that is the paralysis that we're experiencing. Robert G. Ort, the Republican leader in the state Senate, praised emergency workers but said he wanted to know more about the state's response. Despite forecasts, state and local officials still appeared overwhelmed.